Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be showing you a full sequence of 1 versus 1 races that I did in the most recent tournament. So when I got to choose my car, I noticed that the LaFerrari actually had a boost in the acceleration. That's what the green means. They give you a little bit extra of whatever stat that's on. So that was kind of nice. Plus, acceleration is very important in this game mode because most of the cars that you're going to be facing are going to be very similar to you in terms of overall performance. So that bit of acceleration to get ahead at the beginning is always very useful. As you can see here, I was able to get ahead of this Aventador SV toward the beginning. So these races were, I must say, a little bit more interesting than last time. I made a video about this before when it cost 200 tokens to get in. Thankfully, the 1v1 mode is free this time, and hopefully it stays that way. So our first race was rather uneventful. We came in 6 seconds ahead of the other guy who was in an Aventador SV, and at the end of the race, we can see my progress in the tournament, how many wins and losses I had. Now, for the races that were more boring, I'm only going to show the end of the race where you see the car that I beat and my progress in the tournament just for sake of time. Otherwise, this video would be much longer and quite slow at parts. So we get through our first 3 races without much of a problem at all. Now, coming into the 4th race is where things really start to get interesting, and I see the power of that little bit of extra acceleration because I'm able to pull ahead of that Carrera at the beginning, even though he used Nitro and I didn't at the very beginning. Also, the Carrera just doesn't have very good acceleration in general, so you can be going along, minding your own business, and then all of a sudden, Asphalt 9 physics strikes. You'll see what I mean. So I go up these ramps as usual, but upon landing, my car just randomly flips on its side for no reason at all, like I landed normally on that jump, and so I got put behind. But I have been practicing the jump which you can take, where you go off to the left side, hit the barrel, then fly high up into the air, the one that's been around ever since the beginning, but I've just never used it a whole lot. Well, I finally got pretty good at it, decided to use it here, and I'm able to take it without much of an issue, and the other guy does too, but I am catching up at this point. I was pretty sure that I wasn't going to be able to catch him, and I'd probably get my first loss here, and for whatever reason, there is no ramp there like there usually is. Kind of weird, but he goes off the track, and I'm able to pull ahead at the last second to take the victory. Pretty close one there, but it just gets closer later. You'll see. For some reason, Gameloft didn't allow cars to keep the colors that we have on them in just our normal garages. Maybe that's because they knew the power of purple and they didn't want people using that color to have an unfair advantage. That was a joke. So while I'm very happy that Gameloft made this 1v1 game mode free, unfortunately, the rewards are not quite as good as they were before, but still net, you are going to be making more than before because you don't have to pay the 200 to get in. So I guess overall, the rewards are still technically better. My only real issue with this mode now, and this isn't even something really major, is just the fact that, well, you can only play the same 4 tracks over and over again in it, which makes it feel a little repetitive at times. I'm sure you are getting some deja vu throughout the video, and will continue to, because this snow track comes up quite a bit. Well, I just had some pretty great races on it, but I wish I could have some pretty great races on more tracks than just this one in one of the 1v1s. So I'm hoping that's something they bring in the future, where there's more of a variety of tracks, like in normal multiplayer. Maybe their goal was to get people to practice on specifically these tracks and get really good at them in the 1v1 mode, but the problem is you can only play up to 14 races. That's because of the 2 losses, which you have to redo in order to get through it per time playing it, and they also increase the amount of time you have to wait to play in between the 1v1 sessions. I think it went up from 24 hours to like 36 or something like that. I don't really know why they would have increased that, or why it's even so big to begin with. I guess that's so people just can't get lots of rewards over and over again, but I felt like 24 was pretty fair, and there I passed the other LaFerrari at the very last second to come in first. I was still hanging on after a couple of pretty close finishes with all victories so far. But all good things must come to an end, as we see soon. The next 3 races were pretty uneventful. I had one on Shanghai, I had another one on Himalayas, and then I had a third one on Shanghai. For some reason, Himalayas and Shanghai seem to be the most popular ones that I ran up against. So finally, here again, we have another super close one on this track against another LaFerrari. You see what I mean about deja vu and repetitiveness? Although, thankfully, I did learn from before to not go up this ramp at the beginning. I had not played on this variant of this track in a while, otherwise I would have remembered that, so I just go around to the side and take the normal route on this track. What I have found in general in these 1v1 seasons is whenever you're in the first half of races, you're most likely to face lower skilled players who you most likely will be able to beat without too much of a problem. Now, when you get into the upper half, you have a much higher chance to face higher skilled players, as I am facing now, and as I'll be facing in the next few races. So it can give you a false sense of security, especially since with these one-lap races, you just pull ahead and don't have to worry about people for a lot of the first part of it. But then, in the second half, you start coming across races like these, which are actually really close, and I had a lot of fun with these. I must say, the 1v1s in general are a lot of fun for me. I really enjoy them, and I do hope that Gameloft does keep doing them. And if you guys like these videos about them, just seeing a full sequence of races that I did with all of its ups and downs, I can definitely make one or two every time one comes out, or just one probably. Two would be kind of overkill, especially if they come pretty regularly. So with almost a repeat of one of the previous races, we passed the other LaFerrari at the last minute, and we come up to 11 out of 12 wins. Well, as you can see, there are 4 minutes left in the video, so you know that, well, something does happen, and I faced this guy a couple of times in his McLaren P1, and let's just say it did not go quite as planned. And we are back on the track that caused me to have the physics issue the first time. Thankfully, it did not happen on any of my other races, because if it happened here, it would have been pretty disastrous. So I guess I'll talk a little bit about the rest of Asphalt 9 at this point. The Acura NSX event is going pretty well for me. Unfortunately, even though I played the practice of the first round in the stream, I said in that stream that I was going to go on and play the actual round later because I didn't want to do it in the stream because I'd be more nervous in the stream. And typically when I'm streaming, I'm not able to focus as much on the game, so I don't play maybe quite as well as I would otherwise. Unfortunately, I just forgot to play it. So I have 0 for the first round, but we're doing pretty good in the second round, and I'm nearly to 2-starring the car. I'm not thinking that I'm going to be getting it this time, but I'll be getting pretty close, at least, hopefully. Here, unfortunately, the P1 passes us at the very last second, and thus we have our first loss. It's basically the equivalent of 3 strikes and you're out, or 3 lives, or however you want to think about it. You lose 3 times, and then you're kicked out of the event, and you get whatever reward is that for the amount of wins that you have. So here, if I lost like twice more, I get the 11 reward. But I would have hated to come all this way to get to 11 out of 12 and not be able to finish it. So I was thinking here, he's getting pretty far behind. I can barely see him on the map anymore. He took the longer way. But it's not actually all that much longer, and I was unable to make it all the way over to get the good barrel, so he catches up really close to me again, and my lead has evaporated just as quickly as it came up. And around this turn, he actually catches up to me and passes me right on this barrel, and at this point, I had sort of lost hope, not completely, but I knew from the previous race, because this is the same guy from the previous race, that he was a very good driver, and I was unsure if lightning would strike 3 times, rendering me able to pass him at the last second like I did with the 2 LaFerraris earlier. And relating to the P1, I think the P1 was the car that I played in the first 1v1 that I did. Yeah, unfortunately I was unable to pass him toward the end. He takes a very good route throughout there, doesn't lose a lot of speed, and therefore I come in second place, again, to the same guy. So now I'm sitting at 11 out of 12 wins with 2 of 3 losses. So I did a tactical play. I waited 30 seconds so he would join a lobby and I would not find him again, and it worked. I got somebody else, and let's see how this race plays out. So now it's time for my general review about this multiplayer season, I guess, this 1 versus 1 mode. I have a lot of fun with it. I'm very happy that they brought it back, and I'm very happy also that they removed the token fee for joining. I think that right there is going to bring a lot more people to it. And just like that, we claim our 12 out of 12 win, narrowly missing that 3rd loss, and being able to claim the final reward in the 1 versus 1 mode, in which I get unfortunately somewhat disappointing rewards. So guys, thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video if you have enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt and other games content, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!